Welcome to the channel. Today I'll be discussing my experiences with using a Kindle Paperwhite in 2024. I got this Kindle in December of 2023, so I've been using it for about almost 3 months now, and I wanted to share some positives, some negatives, and just my general thoughts about it. Before we get started, I'd like to preface by saying that I've been looking into other e-readers, but I don't know enough about them yet. But I recommend you do your research because the Kindle definitely isn't the only option. When I was looking at getting the Kindle Paperwhite, I was also looking at the Kobo Libra 2, which seems to be roughly the same, but it has page turn buttons, so essentially buttons that you can press to go back and forth between pages. So if that's something you're looking for, that might be better than the Kindle Paperwhite. I chose the Kindle Paperwhite because it has a flush screen, whereas the other one was recessed a bit. But it does mean that the text quality on the Kobo Libra 2 is higher quality because it doesn't have this extra layer on top that makes it a bit fuzzier. With that being said, the Kindle doesn't have any issues in terms of visibility, and reading on it is very sharp. There's also a company called Books, and I'll add a link in the description so that you can check them out, but they sell a ton of products. They have so many products. They have a few notable ones. I recommend Googling them and doing some research on them if that's what you're looking for, but they do tablets that are e-ink tablets, so like instead of an iPad or something, they do lots of different e-readers, different size. They do handheld ones, but I've heard they haven't got the best customer service, and they're like a Chinese company that sells to other countries, so do your research before, but those are just the options. Assuming that you're looking to get a Kindle as an entry into the world of e-readers, I'll discuss a few pros of e-readers in general, and then I'll touch in more detail on the Kindle specifically. I used to be a big fan of reading physical books, and I still have a bunch of physical books around me, but e-readers have actually transformed my view on physical books, and I guess reading on devices as well. I still dislike reading books on phones, tablets, computers, whatever it may be, but using a Kindle, I actually prefer using my Kindle over reading physical books, and I'll usually have the book on my Kindle and the physical book in person of the same book, and I'll still choose to read on the Kindle, and there are a few reasons that I'll get into. So to start off with some of the pros of the Kindle, firstly, you can read anywhere because it has a backlight, which means that with a normal physical book, you can't read in the dark. And if the place you're sitting in doesn't have lights available or something, it's a bit awkward. You have to use a flashlight or something. Overall, Kindle is more convenient for that. You can read anywhere. There's a backlight. That's fine. And to add on to that, it's so portable, and it can store all your books. So it's lighter than the average book. It's smaller than the average book, which means if you're out and about, you don't have to bring multiple books with you, even if it's like course textbooks or something, but it's just easier to carry than a normal book anyways. I put this in my bag and just carry it around, pull it out, no problem, anytime I want to read. It's so portable. I can swap between books if I'm bored. It's perfect for going traveling or on the plane or something, because you don't need to pack multiple books, so you can go through as many as you want. Overall, very portable, stores all your books, has a backlight so you can read it wherever you are. It's also easier to hold than a normal book. You can hold it one-handed easily, but also with books, sometimes you have to hold with both hands to keep the pages open, whereas this, because it's just one thing, you can hold it like this. So you can just hold it and swipe your finger to go to the next page one-handed, no problem. A cool thing about the Kindle is that it can actually track your reading speed, which means it can give you predictions on how long it's going to take you to finish either the whole book or a specific chapter. So right now I'm reading a book called Breath by James Nestor, and if I turn the screen on, it'll take me 48 minutes to read this chapter based on my reading speed, and that's specific to me. So as you read, it'll track your reading speed and tell you, which is incredibly useful, especially if you want to sit down and do some reading, but you don't know how long it's going to take you, and you don't want to leave a chapter halfway through. You can figure out how long you're going to be reading for. There's another absolutely massive feature for me. This is the #1 reason why I love the Kindle, and it's the fact that you can define words while reading. So I read a lot of nonfiction, and I frequently bump into words that I don't know the meaning of, or I'm just not familiar with, and all you do is you just take your finger, hold down on the word for 2 seconds, it'll highlight and instantly pop up with a dictionary definition. And while you're doing that, you can also highlight phrases, which means if you have books and you don't like highlighting in them, with a Kindle you can easily do it, and also you can refer back to it. And as soon as you make that note, it saves it on the Kindle ecosystem, which means if you have the Kindle app on your computer, you can pull it up, you can go through your notes and find that exact note if you want to refer to it on different devices. That works on your iPad, your phone, whatever it may be. In the past, I would have to go and either Google that word and disrupt the flow of reading, or I would just forget about it and read past it, but then I wouldn't actually learn the meaning. So this solves both those issues. The Kindle also has incredible battery life. I read probably about 2 hours a day on average, and I charge my Kindle maybe once a week, once every 1.5 weeks, and I've had no issues with the battery life. It takes maybe an hour and a half to charge to full, and overall I'm very happy with that. Another thing is that the Kindle is reasonably affordable. I mean, this Kindle was £180. Compared to books, it's expensive, but one thing about the Kindle is that the books on the Kindle are way cheaper than buying the physical books. So you save your money, and it's a long-term investment. You eventually make up the money, but also for the amount of use you get out of it, I would say it's relatively affordable. Of course, you can read on your phone or something, but the experience is completely different on a Kindle. I would say in terms of build quality, the Kindle is built pretty well. It's quite sturdy. I haven't had any issues with scratches, although I do have a case. I found that the Kindle cases were quite expensive, so I got like an off-brand one off Amazon, and it's been doing completely fine for me. But the Kindle is waterproof, which is incredibly useful. That's an advantage over a physical book, but also it means you can read wherever. You can read in the bath, you can read outside in the rain if you wanted to. You could even read by the pool or by the beach and not worry about splashes damaging your book. Another useful feature about the Kindle is that you can adjust almost anything to customize it to the way you'd like to read. So you can change the margins on the page, the line spacing, the type of font, the size of the font, and basically anything else. So if you struggle reading physical books and you find that the text is too small for you, a Kindle is definitely a great option to consider, because you can make the text bigger, you can make it bolder, you can change the font, and overall it makes it easier to read. And you might also be able to read quicker if you have bigger text. Some people find bigger text easier to read, some people find smaller text easier to read, so you can choose exactly what you want. If you struggle to adjust to reading ebooks because you like the physical turning of physical books, you can enable a page turn animation, and although it's not as satisfying as reading a physical book in that regard, it does a pretty good job. In terms of cons, so I got the Signature Edition Kindle, and it means that it can do wireless charging. It has 32 gigabytes of storage instead of 16 gigabytes of storage, and it has an auto brightness feature, which means that it recognizes the brightness of the room and adjusts the backlighting to make it easier to see. I would say the Signature Edition probably isn't worth it. It cost me an extra £20, and although the auto brightness might be useful, and I can see circumstances where it would be useful, normally I'm not changing settings frequently enough to need to adjust it, so all I need to do is set it once at the beginning of my session, and it remains the same throughout the session. The battery life lasts so long that it doesn't seem necessary to have wireless charging. You can simply plug it in for an hour and a half and it's full battery, and you're doing that once a week or every 1.5 weeks, so I don't think that justifies it. And also the additional storage, unless you listen to a ton of audiobooks or something, I have hundreds of books on here already and I barely use any of the storage. 16 gigabytes is just enough. You'll be fine. You don't need 32 gigs. I sometimes encounter ghosting on my Kindle, maybe every 30 to 40 pages or even less frequently. And it's not a big deal, but it just means that sometimes when I turn the page, the text on the next page in certain lines is thinner, and it just stands out. It's as if all the other text is in bold and some text isn't. So it's just an issue with the pixels refreshing, and that's what comes with an e-ink display. But the Kindle does have an option to refresh the whole display every time you turn the page, and although it's a bit disruptive to the reading experience, it prevents the ghosting altogether. So to conclude, ultimately, the signature edition is probably not worth the money. It comes with wireless charging, 32 gigabytes of storage, and auto-adjusting screen light. And if these features do appeal to you, then you can look at it. I got it because I was worried I was going to miss these features, and if it was only £20 more, I didn't want to risk regretting it. But after using it, I can comfortably say that it is not necessary, and in hindsight, I probably would have taken the cheaper option. If reading is something that you've wanted to do more of, but you struggle to get into the habit, I do recommend picking up a Kindle. A Kindle makes the reading experience significantly more pleasant, it makes it easier, and there's less resistance because you can carry it with you wherever you go. So if that's something you want to start doing, I recommend investing in a Kindle. Also, investing money might make you stick to it more because there's a financial incentive. I personally use my Kindle while I'm waiting around for classes to start, in between lectures, or even just when I'm bored and I don't want to go and watch YouTube or scroll on social media. I highly recommend getting a Kindle Paperwhite in 2024. I think it has great features. I do think it's worth checking out other e-readers, but from my personal experience as someone who reads a significant amount, I've been very happy with the experience and I definitely recommend one. Thanks for watching the video. I hope to see you in the future.